Thank you. The fifth frame. Ronnie O'Sullivan to break.
Mid-session interval over. Ronnie O'Sullivan gets frame 5 underway. No more breaks. Intervals, that is. A place in the final. You need 6 frames. So that basically equates, Steve, that the possible 7 and Steve Maguire's got to win 5 of them. Big ask.
Well, he'll be hoping that the interval has changed the equation. Sometimes does. Not easy to get the cue ball safe there. But he played the red up and down with enough pace that it would have been very unlucky to have stayed in the jaws of the corner pocket had it gone in that direction. Stephen Maguire maybe playing a thick safety shot here, which would split the reds open quite a bit.
Quite an aggressive safety shot. I don't know whether Ronnie can get through to this red near the left corner. It is cuttable, it's a thin one, but it's a possibility. Good pot. That's the problem with the attacking safety. You open the reds, but I don't think Ronnie's finished on a colour. Not nicely anyway. Well, the fact he's having a look at the reds, maybe he's just about on this brown. Good pot. I thought the kiss on the brown has spoilt good position, but maybe not.
Should he be able to see enough of the brown? It looks like the red 2 to the left of the black's the option. Yep. And enough of an angle that he doesn't really have to force too much to get up the table. Certainly, if Hawkeye is to be believed, or do we always believe in him, John? I don't know what the current feelings are. Well, I believe now, because Ronnie stroked that brown in. One of the 2 reds available into the corner.
Yes, and just drops this in and play for the black in the opposite corner. Now I don't know,
6.
the red just to the right of the black, I don't know if it's stopping the black going on its back on its spot. If it is, he's got an angle on the black to disturb that red and make room for the black. Just got into that a bit too much.
Yes, and once again, this cue seems to be very, very lively indeed. Certainly when it comes to imparting backspin onto the cue ball. And a nice position has become an awkward position now. All sorts of implements being got out from underneath the table by Aaron Williams, our referee, but Ronnie choosing the rest.
Yeah, it's not beyond the realms of possibility he could pop this. I know he's going to run into the red that's near the top cushion. The problem with using the extended spider, kiss off the other red, get on the black. It's just tricky cueing. It's just.
Well, it looks like an aisle in B&Q's at the moment, doesn't it?
Of course, as long as nothing hits the other implements he's left on the table, no problem. Playing with bottom, how's he going to get on the black? Like that, like that. Well, a little unlucky to go so close to the side cushion. We'll have to wait a minute or two, Ron, to get all that stuff off the table.
14.
Very unlucky, really, there to end up with the cue ball on the side cushion. Oh, Ronnie having a bit of a laugh and a joke there. Tough pot. Just struggled in. He's keeping this break going.
21.
There was a little bit of a finish of Ronnie's cue there. You saw very solidly through the ball. Stops that cue dead after he pots the ball. And the cue ball doing
22.
exactly the same thing on the brown again. Can he see the brown again? If he can, he's got choices. Off the side cushion into the pack or the loose red. He's already intimated it's the loose red. I thought he was going for the brown there. Perhaps he couldn't see it. It looks like end of break.
24.
Yeah, it was a good pot on the yellow, but just got into the cue ball a little bit too much. He was playing for that loose red just at the bottom of the cluster. I think he's enjoying it out there,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I mean, a good frame of mind, Ronnie O'Sullivan, is not, as an opponent, what you want to see, really, is it? Taking his time over the safety shots. Very attentive to every part of his game. And I wonder, has that gone in? Oh! Well, it was also, amazingly, should he choose, beyond the brown, with a view to cutting the brown in and coming up the table and smashing into the red. So now it's a bit advanced. The yellow round 3 cushions, or 2 cushions, is a possibility as well. Round the back of the brown. Do you know, I think this new cue's inspired him a bit, to be quite honest. I think he's finding the challenge quite interesting.
Yeah, and it is. I see what you mean, Steve. It's sort of focusing his mind on every shot. He can't take anything for granted. And there is a direct line here, if he should choose to play it. The only thing is, he'll be playing this brown with pace. If he just plays a plain ball pot to can into the cluster, and the black and the brown is missable.
Thanks. Ronnie O'Sullivan, 25.
Well, he's missed the brown, but I don't think he's got on the red, so no harm done.
Well, he'd be frustrated with that. And once again, putting an implement on the end of the cue does change, as I said earlier, the characteristics of the cue, and perhaps he's not fully used to practicing as much as he would be with his old cue with the extensions on. So nothing Steve Maguire can do except try and play a good safety shot. And this is a bit risky, but probably will pay some dividends. Great shot. There's the possibility, just I think the possibility of sneaking past the brown into the corner pocket. May not have been on, but can't have asked for anything better than that, and actually has presented Ronnie O'Sullivan with a bit of a headache here.
Yeah, I could draw a line and say come off the left-hand side cushion to that little cluster below the pink, but he can't play that because he'd leave a red to the left corner. There's the red near the right-hand side cushion. He could come off the baulk cushion, maybe rest on that, but he could possibly knock it on. But as we see so many times with this misrule now, you need to hit the red soon because you can give lots of points away.
Well, that's about as far out as
Stephen Maguire 4.
Ronnie O'Sullivan probably has ever been for an escape from a snooker. But what it guaranteed was no damage done. But he's obviously got to find some more of a different line there, and he perhaps played it a bit too wide. He wants to play it more shallow off the side cushion. But even this is risky, John.
Just wondering if he plays at a bit more pace, whether he can get to that red near the right-hand side cushion. Well, he's going to hit the reds this time. Oh, this looks magnificent. Oh, he's just rolling off.
Foul and a miss.
Miles
Stephen
out.
Maguire 4.
Well, Stephen Maguire looking at possibly clipping off the red and putting him back, but I don't see what the point is really.
Yes, there was no way in the world he wasn't going to have the balls put back. Well, that was nearly the perfect shot.
This is very difficult, and he's obviously found the line, but there's no guarantee he's going to hit it the same line this time. That's about as good as you can get, I think. Oh, is he not shy of pace? Oh, how cruel is it? Oh,
Foul and a miss. Stephen Maguire 4.
does the red pot in the middle pocket? No, so it's back again. Stephen Maguire getting back in this frame without really getting out of his chair.
What about it? You're closer.
Are there any other routes he can choose, John? Off the top cushion for the red on the side is dangerous. He
away?
pushes it towards the corner.
This way.
He's going to keep on playing this shot, isn't he, until he gets it right, I think.
I think so, and well, the last time just a little bit short of pace. The time before just slid by it. And of course the thing is, the referees now, unless you hit it, they're going to keep calling miss. He's going to hit them this time, surely. No, he's come off that.
Foul and a miss. Stephen Maguire 4.
The problem with that was by hitting it harder, which he obviously did, he had more side spin on, and the side spin continued on the second and third cushions, or certainly the second cushion. The side spin caused the cue ball to go wider. So now perhaps a different choice. Oh, this is tough. Anything could happen with this one. Trying to judge the escape off the side cushion with only about 2 inches of play before it hits it.
Yeah, if he's looking to the red on the right-hand side of the table, he's got to avoid a contact with the blue.
That's brilliant.
That's superb. Well, what a touch.
Has he left a red? No. I thought for a minute he had. Well, it's a thin cut. I suppose he has left it effectively, isn't he? It's a shot to nothing for Stephen Maguire.
Yes, probably that's why Ronnie had a few other reds he was trying to escape from, because he knew he was leaving that red. It was a good pot, that, from Stephen. He was hampered.
Excellent pot. Really would have been unlucky to have left it in the jaws. The brown looks like it pots, but it's a lot thinner than it looks on our TV screens. A lot thinner, and the cue ball is going to be doing some mileage around the table, or backwards and forwards across the table. Somehow he's got to try and retain control of it. Not too sure how he can do that.
First priority, of course, is to miss the middle pockets. Well, he couldn't. He didn't feel as though he could pot it. Well, I've got to say there, he was a little unlucky. That was a terrific pot on the red, to not be able to pot the brown.
Amazing.
Unfortunate.
Amazing, John. It looked potable. It obviously, well, it would have been strange for him to turn it down, wouldn't it, if he couldn't have potted it? He'd be very disappointed with the positional side of the safety.
Oh yes, he missed an opportunity to snooker Ronnie again, and we knew what a towing snooker it was last time he got behind the brown, so he missed a trick there. Nice little nudge off the yellow for Ronnie to leave that cue ball near the baulk cushion.
Not that I'm trying to direct the show in any way, shape or form, but it would be nice if Hawkeye could show us that brown from Stephen Maguire's situation at some stage. we can have a look, John, see if we like the shot ourselves. Bit thick on that.
Yeah, poor safety, and I think he's left a red on here for Ronnie. Maybe a choice of 2 reds. Playing the thinnish one, but he knows if he pots it, he should be on the bought colour. In it goes. Now, unless it bounces too hard and he's not going to be on the brown. Does the yellow go?
Here we go. Ooh. Don't like that much, do you?
Yeah, I think he could probably pot it, but it was so thin, he couldn't get the cue ball back up towards the red, so no value.
Whereas Ronnie O'Sullivan off the yellow could. Wouldn't say it's a frame-winning opportunity just yet, but with Ronnie O'Sullivan on the end of the cue, perhaps I should.
Yeah, well, it all depends if he can get... Well, he can. He's getting down. This is the red he wanted to be on, and he's just on it.
4.
And now in potting the black, a little cannon into that cluster of 4 just below the pink. He'll still be on the red to the left corner. If these break right, he's already got a 12-point lead. The black will put him 19 in front. Just these reds in the middle of the table would be sufficient. Nudged them open. It's a frame-winning opportunity now.
11.
They could have opened nicer. The fact that the 2 reds have stuck together above the pink probably means they need another nudge.
12.
Yeah, but with that pink being close to the reds, if he could play on the pink, he could pot the pink and bring those 2 reds into play. 27 points now the lead,
19.
and now he's looking to see if he could stun this red in, just leave a little 3/4 ball pot on the pink into the right middle.
20.
Well, decided to play for the black, so you'd think he'd play for the red that's up near the blue spot.
Lovely lazy delivery there.
27.
A long pull back of the cue. Ronnie O'Sullivan not shy in pulling the cue back a long distance. A lot of players concentrate on a shorter pull back to retain control, but Ronnie O'Sullivan so nice and lazy at the back and going through the ball.
28.
Well, is he the right angle for this pink, John?
I think so. He couldn't get it off the last red he potted, but he's got it here. If these reds break nicely, and they have, they broke perfectly. Lovely control. You wouldn't expect him to make a mistake now.
34.
These 2 reds, 2 colours would put him well past the winning line.
35.
Oh, and how costly was that loose safety shot from Stephen Maguire?
42.
How do you get punished sometimes in this game? It's tough at the top.
43.
Well, Mr. Cannon, but there you see it. 58 points
50.
in front, only 43 left. It's unlikely that Stephen would come back to the table. I don't know, is this a possibility of a plant to the right corner here?
Yeah, it could go screaming down the cushion, this. Oh, slowly down the cushion, that's what I meant.
51. $58.
Well, he's behind the brown. When he was behind the brown earlier on, it looked as though it was going to be costly. He's playing the brown and plants on the blue.
Foul.
But it didn't
Ronnie
matter.
O'Sullivan 66, Stephen
Steve Maguire was already going to
Ronnie
concede.
O'Sullivan.
It's getting harder for Steve Maguire as Ronnie O'Sullivan now wins the first frame after the mid-session interval and leads 4-1.
Well, I'm sure if you're sitting at home watching this on Interactive, or Red Button as it's now called, I'm sure you'll agree with us. I find it hard to work out how Steve Maguire's going to get himself into a winning situation in this match. He just, I don't know, the best he can do at the moment is perhaps level frames.
Yeah, I think as we look at some of the stats, as we look at the brown, where very unlucky, you know, it was a good red he potted, and then you could see the despair that he didn't get the snooker. Just laughing at one or two of the things, but we'll have a look at the stats now. And do you know the big one for me, Steve? The one at the bottom, highest break.
Well, yes, especially if you saw Steve Maguire in his last match making there was 5 centuries made in the last 5 frames, 3 of them Steve Maguire. He was on fire. He'd be very disappointed with that. I mean, obviously, like Poc's successes at 81% probably tells the story as well, but he's been outscored in points as well. Nothing looks good there, does it, really?
No.
Although safety successes was an improvement. It's like a game of top trumps,
Okay, with the
isn't
6th frame.
It could make it
Steve
into
Maguire to
a
break.
card game.
Frame 6 underway. And Stephen Maguire has got to somehow get back into this match, and you don't feel he's going to do it in bits and pieces, so I think we've got to look for some probably more high scoring. His highest break at the moment, only 44. It's not good enough at this level. He knows that. Not telling him anything he doesn't know, but can he get in? Can he get the chances? I think he has had opportunities to have a better break than that.
He's certainly not going to get chances with safety play like that from Ronnie O'Sullivan, who has, on first glimpse of a view from my perspective, cut off every avenue and path back to baulk. So Steve Maguire is more or less, he could swerve around between the yellow and the blue and perhaps clip the red thin. That's too risky. He's more or less obligated to lay into the pack unless it's the 2-cushion escape back to baulk. So difficult, these.
Foul and a miss.
We saw a free ball left from one of these earlier. Ronnie O'Sullivan looking at the long 2-ball plant. Steve Maguire, a bit of a murmur in the crowd there. Steve Maguire more or less getting ready to play the shot again, but he's got to give the respect to Ronnie to make his mind up before he puts him back in. Stephen expecting to be put back in.
Yeah, as you can see, it's not a plant. I'd be surprised if Ronnie doesn't have the balls replaced. And the reason I say that is because there was a gap between the yellow and the blue. You couldn't play safe off it, but that puts pressure on this 2-cushion escape, because 3 misses and you can forfeit the frame.
Yes, the bizarre rule for the mistakes is that you've got to be able to see a full ball, I think. So technically, if Stephen Maguire can see this red full, even though he can't hit either side of it, it effectively goes down as a hittable ball. And I think the ruling would be you'd have to hit this in 3 goes, as you say, John. Strange rule, strange how it's being set up. So now, will he get warned again? Should Ronnie O'Sullivan decide to put him back in? Same place.
Yeah, we'll listen for referee Arian Williams, but I think he will be warned. He can get through the gap to hit this red full in the face. Let's listen.
Unless they've changed the rule, John, I don't keep my ear firmly to the ground on the rule. If Arian Williams thinks that he can hit full ball on this, unless they change the rules...
You have your position. Further up. Have a look there. I think you've got a full ball that you can hit in between the yellow and the blue.
He's explaining that he can hit
Good
full
look down
ball,
there.
so he's warning him.
Down the path.
All of a
In the yellow
sudden,
and the
Steve
blue,
Maguire's
you gotta hit it
collapsed
on
in a
the
heap.
center, it was the frame.
He didn't realise the rule. He's now thinking, how unfair is this? I'm effectively snookered on this ball. I can't hit it, but because I can hit full ball, I have to hit a red. How cruel.
Can he afford to play the 2-cushion escape again? Because if he does, and he doesn't hit the reds, he'll lose the frame.
He's having a scratch of the head. The ear roll's going to get some work here as well, I think. He's having a chat about the rule. He doesn't really
Yeah,
realise
I had
it.
a look down before the first shot.
Did you?
Yeah, I went down. Well, have a look.
And then have a look, so it's,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I was actually wondering whether it was in the same place, the ball, but I think we know that that's probably about right.
Well, Stephen, what do? You're 4-1 behind. You can hit the red full in the face. Do you just make certain you hit the red?
I think there is a path of 2 cushions to go into the gap in between the 2 reds. That he could try and bury the white ball in the middle of the pack. Smashing the balls all over the place is not necessarily an option, I don't think. Whatever he does, if he plays any type of roll into the pack, he's got to err on the hard side. He cannot afford to underhit anything.
But most importantly, he's got to hit one. If he doesn't, he'll lose the frame. Well done, not his choice obviously, he would rather have played something else but it was imperative he hit the red, otherwise he'd have gone 5-1 behind.
Yes, and very cleverly he chose a path that absolutely guaranteed there was no gaps. Couldn't attempt to try and use the bulk colours to hide Stephen Maguire behind there, so concentrated on getting that cue ball as tight as possible to the bulk cushion, and what a great effort he made of it. Steve Maguire has 2 shots, the thin red or the thicker red by the pink spot. That's a more aggressive safety shot and will open the reds up more, and perhaps 4-1 behind he may choose this thicker contact to try and force the pace. Trying to get something going in the match, isn't he, John?
Yes, when you're 4-1 down, then you've got to try and make things happen. It was an aggressive safety, but catching the bump in the middle pocket. He now goes back to his seat, wondering if that mistake could be costly. It all depends really on the initial red. If Ronnie can knock it in, get position on a colour, you fancy a sizable contribution. Well, look at this. Left-handed. Well, he decided to use the extension. He's not had much luck with this extension so far, has he? Wonderful pot. It really was.
I think he's got used to it now. Okay, the reds are all open, but it's not your normal run-of-the-mill break, with the black being out of commission into at least one pocket at the top of the table. I always love watching Ronnie O'Sullivan, how he goes about making a break in situations like this. I think it's a lesson to everybody in the game, not just club players, but
5.
other professionals. Just watch with their jaw open sometimes. Probably the commentator's curse here, but...
Yeah, well, funny enough you say that. He's finished up on this red. He's going to play it with the rest, and I think if he just stuns this red in, he can play for the black in the opposite corner.
Well, we'll soon know if it goes. It goes. How quickly has he got on the black?
And with the black on its spot, now you're thinking it's a chance to make a frame-winning contribution in the blink of an eye.
I think the lesson, not just club players, but also professionals should learn from
13.
watching Ronnie O'Sullivan at work, is the value of getting on the black so early. Obviously, you need to be able to pot the balls as well, but how quickly he gives himself an opportunity to make potentially frame-winning
14.
visits. And this looks, you know, you wouldn't bet against 5-1 now, would you?
$21. $22.
Well, you see 93% pot success for Ronnie. 81 for Stephen Maguire. Who would have believed that after the way he played the other day? But that's the
29.
game of snooker. When you sat in that seat, there's not a lot you can do about it. And Ronnie has played superb tonight in all aspects of the game.
30.
Not only the break building, some of his safety play has been top drawer, and if you just cast your mind back to Stephen Maguire's mistake, that was brought about by a good safety shot from Ronnie, leaving Stephen tight on the baulk cushion. Just clip that red. Now, how has it affected
37.
his position? Straighter on it, he could have rolled through and played for the black. He may have to go back up for the blue here. Well, the
38.
pink goes. The pink goes. Just looking to see, after the pink is potted, where it will go. But there's an easy red to follow in the same pocket as the pink. Well, I think the pink spot's available. Doesn't mess the reds up too much.
$44. $45.
Obviously, as the reds diminish on the table, positional
52.
play becomes more critical. Sometimes can have a bearing on a player continuing the break.
53.
Never seems to worry Ronnie O'Sullivan, though. Always seems to be able to keep great position.
Well, no matter how much skill you've got, when you run into other balls,
58.
you always need a little bit of luck. And he's gone slightly awkward here. He's on the red to the right centre. He always knew he'd have this, but he's hampered. Can't do a lot with the cue ball.
59.
And because of that, he couldn't get the right angle on the blue. But if he pots the blue, he'll go 72 points in front with 75 still left on the table. So he'll be looking for one more red.
He wouldn't put it past him to knock the blue and red in. Obviously, the blue's a formality, but got to fancy him for the red. And that awkward bridging over the reds for the other red in the middle may have been Stephen
64.
Maguire's last hope in this match, bizarrely.
65.
He's a steamroller at the moment, isn't he? A veritable juggernaut in the game. He's going to take some stopping. Should he get to the final, he's going to take some stopping, that's for certain.
Well, his all-round performance this evening has just been of
72.
the highest quality. Whether it be break building, safety. It was
73.
a good safety shot that created this chance, forced a mistake from his opponent. He's potted some tremendous balls. He's the complete snooker player, there's no doubt about that. Left or right-handed.
79. 80.
I'll just remind you once again, in the first frame this evening, he made a century break, which equalled the record of Stephen Hendry's. 41 centuries made at the Masters. So Ronnie,
85.
to break that incredible record.
86.
He should have broke it in frame 4, but Mr. Sitter of a green. Oh, wonderful shot. Deep screw, lots of left-hand side, inch perfect.
93.
Well, maybe not. He just can't get past the black. Red to the middle.
94.
And the black for the record number of centuries at Wembley and the Masters. It's there. What a tremendous achievement.
101. 102.
Well, this is what Ronnie O'Sullivan plays for. Talking of excitement in the game, he loves to be centre of attention.
109. It's enough, please.
Stephen Hendry still holds many
111.
records, but he likes to be a record breaker himself. I'm sure he's back in Auchterarder there in Scotland, kicking 7 bells out of his sporran.
114. 118. 123. 129.
Absolutely wonderful. Magnificent. The most centuries ever made at the Masters. But more importantly, he's just one frame away now from a place in the final. Well, just looking at Stephen Maguire there, you've got a feel for him. But there's no disgrace, and he knows that, losing to Ronnie O'Sullivan in this form, Steve.
Yeah, it's no disgrace, but I think he probably felt, in the form that he showed against Neil Robertson, that he'd be a lot stronger here tonight, so I think he's a bit shell-shocked at the moment. Every player knows that on the night it can either go right or wrong, but even so, I'm sure he expected a much better standard from himself.
Cue frame 7. Ronnie O'Sullivan to break. It's enough now, thank you.
Ronnie gets frame 7 underway. Will it be the one that he needs to take him into the final of the Masters?
And once again, at the risk of repeating myself, no reds being put over the corner pockets of the break-off. It's either that this table is playing like that, or some of the top players have been working on their break to stop it happening. It's not perfect, but it's good enough, I think. Although it's a risky long red, but in the form Ronnie O'Sullivan, will he play the screw back? No.
Mistake. Not made many with his safety. But we use this cliche many times, a mountain to climb. What you've got to do in these circumstances is just try and put the match score out of your mind and just concentrate on one shot at a time. Not easy.
Yes, and the first steps of this mountain to climb are awkward, because whilst that was an excellent pot, especially as he hasn't had that much table time, positional play now is difficult, to say the least. Two reds on the top cushion are on, but fraught with danger. So, a little bit of thinking required here. Pot the yellow. Two cushions, three cushions possibly to the top cushion somehow. Round the back of that red. If not, he may be in trouble. Well, he's got the long one into the yellow pocket, but obviously not easy.
Stephen Maguire 3.
Didn't even have the chance of the long one in the yellow pocket. I thought it was roughly straight, but he couldn't even pot that and get back to baulk, so no damage done by Ronnie O'Sullivan, which is even a nicer feeling for Ronnie O'Sullivan. Even when he messes up, he's not getting punished. Don't think the yellow's hampering his cueing, so long red, got to take it on. Would love to get position by pushing that black towards the corner pocket. Well, he chose to leave the black alone and go around the back of the black. Don't think he played the stun onto the black there. But too close to the side cushion. And just a safety shot.
Stephen Maguire 1.
Got the cue ball tight under the baulk cushion, but Ronnie can get through to the cluster of reds just past the pink.
Well, that was a lot better than it looked. Okay, it's not on the ball cushion, but he caught that red just right. Steve Maguire should be able to play behind the green here. 4 cushions. Maybe a bit thick off the cushion, and Ronnie O'Sullivan left with a similar shot as last time. And this one a bit easier. No real danger unless he was to catch it very, very thick. And I think he's got a number of reds to play off, hasn't he, John?
Yeah, and I think there's just a red sticking out, isn't there? There's a line of 3 reds just to the left of the pink, but the bottom one is just sticking out, and that's like a guide. So you can play to it the first one very thin, but you just shave past that, and you were the last one perfect. Expect a good safety here.
Well, you could have been there all day long trying to hit both of those.
But as I say, if you play to it the first one very thin, if you just miss, you get the next one perfect. That was my book on safety anyway. Yours was more precise than that, wasn't it?
Well, here's another chance for Steve Maguire to play a telling safety behind the green. And perhaps he can use the pink now as a guard. Certainly done that. So Ronnie O'Sullivan forced to play down the right-hand side of the table.
I know what you're saying, Steve, but I'm just wondering if you could play off that red and maybe find a path back to the...
You're so right.
The balk end. The only problem is you can knock a red towards the corner pocket here.
Years of experience in the commentary box.
Played it well. Played it well. Different line to the one I was a bit concerned he may kiss the second red. And Stephen's got to be careful now he doesn't leave this red towards the right corner.
Too thin. Anything can happen now.
Needs the brown to help him. And it hasn't.
Well, if the black goes, he'll be playing for it. If not, what a shot he'd have to pull out. It would be the deepest of screwbacks. I think the black goes just to stun dead.
One.
This could be the key to the match if you can knock this in. It's there. What a beautiful shot. It made that look easy, but believe me, it was far from it. Now, does the black go on its spot? He'll want it to go on its spot because I think the angle he's got on this red, he can just play a little cannon and remove that red that's to the left of the black and finish up on the black. Just wants to catch it just thin and just nudge it away from the black. Got into it too much.
9.
Well, no need to beat yourself up, Ronnie. It's one of the few poor positional shots you played. Just wanted to hit that red, well, less than quarter ball.
It was a monster black he took on. It looked like it could be a frame winner. He really made what looked like a very missable shot look easy. Obviously, does help with a 5-1 lead. Does take a little bit of pressure out of your back arm.
Yeah, but funny enough, looking where the red after he potted the black, maybe if he'd have put a fraction more pace in it, he'd have cleared that red away from the black spot. So it was a good pot, and I don't blame him for making certain the black. So anyway, he could get through to the yellow.
Ronnie O'Sullivan, 9.
Well, he turned down the opportunity to lay on the black and probably get a good snooker. He was probably thinking that Steve Maguire was just going to come off the side cushion into the 4 reds and nestle in onto those. So he chose another shot, but he's given Steve Maguire a chance that he shouldn't really have had. But Steve Maguire at the moment just not in form, is he? It's been a tough night for him.
Yeah, it's a disappointing night. I'm sure he expected more than he's produced this evening. Most of us did. Well, that was a heavy contact. That wasn't a good contact at all, because when the cue ball hit the red, it just, well, it exploded, took all the pace out of the cue ball. That cue ball should have been tight on the baulk cushion. Just watch, the white hardly moved.
So Steve Maguire left with a slightly easier pot than Ronnie O'Sullivan had, but he's a little bit more to do with the cue ball. He's got to screw this back about 6 inches to be nicely on the black.
One. Played it well. Terrific chance.
Eight.
The comeback trail starts here. Let's see how far he can get up it.
9.
Ooh. Nearly slipped off the track there. Well, this isn't easy either.
Stephen Maguire 9.
It's a funny old game, isn't it? One day you can't miss a ball, and the next day it just won't drop. Thought it was going to drop, thought gravity was going to take over.
Well, he was like a predator his last game. The predator tonight's been Ronnie O'Sullivan, and if this red goes in, which it does,
1.
it very much looks like Steve Maguire is going to get eaten alive here this evening. You go back to that first blue in the first frame and think, as a player, what if that had gone in? Would it have been a different story?
We say many times it's always very hard to judge when a ball's right in the jaws of the pocket, but Ronnie's controlled that
8.
shot very nicely. Choice of reds. He's got that red that he's just looked at there. It looks as though he could run through and play for the black in the opposite corner. An easier red to the middle, but probably doesn't feel that offers him good position. Yeah, decided to play it, and of course by playing that just brought those reds more into play. This is the match-winning chance, you feel?
16.
Very rarely when Ronnie O'Sullivan has choices of tricky positional shots does he choose the wrong one. Always seems to get that cue ball out into open play. Elementary, you would think, but that's come up short. Has he got a saver into the middle pocket?
24.
He would have loved to have been another 6 inches further up the table. Looks like he has.
25.
Well, he's getting down pretty quick, so he must have a good angle on this black just to force it up from one of those reds that he was wanting to play on before but was short. 28
32.
points the lead. These 3 reds in the middle of the table
3.
and colours, and he'll be past the winning line. I was quite surprised, Steve, when I looked at the stats of the two players. They played to get each other 13 occasions, and Ronnie leading 10-3.
39.
I don't know whether that had any effect on this match. You wouldn't have thought
40.
so, the way Stephen was playing, coming into it. But it's going to be another beating, you feel?
No, I think Stephen Maguire came to this match in super confident mode, was prepared to take on a couple of big shots.
47.
Unfortunately for him, he didn't get them. And at this level of play, once your opponent starts punishing you, that super confidence can evaporate quite quickly. But it has to be said, Ronnie O'Sullivan has been majestic once again.
48. $55. 56.
Left, right-handed, doesn't make much difference to this young man.
$63.
There you see, 1 pink, 7 blacks.
64.
But unfortunately, no century is on, but he's finishing the match as he's played it, in style.
70.
So we're going to have a repeat of last year's final. It doesn't matter about the yellow. Stephen Maguire shakes his hand. He'll be very disappointed, but you can't fault the performance from the Rocket, Ronnie O'Sullivan. Absolutely superb. People were worried. Stephen Maguire was in great form. He blew him away and now meets Mark Selby in the final tomorrow. He wins 6 frames to 1.